Good day, everyone across North America. This is John Garmendi with Sony's Professional Solutions of America. And for those of you joining us for the first time, welcome. For those of you who have been tuning into this series since early 2020, we'd like to welcome you back. So, we develop these webinars so that our customers, resellers, integrators, and consultants can stay informed and up to date on Sony's latest products and solutions, especially during this last year when many of us were not able to meet in person. In today's webinar, entitled Elevating Your Presentations with AI Technology, we'll look at Sony's Edge Analytics solution and how it combines high powered graphics processing and AI to harness video analytics technology. You'll also learn about Edge Systems' broad functionalities, including virtual chroma key, PTZ auto tracking, handwriting extraction, close up by gesture, and dynamic focus area cropping. You'll discover how to produce engaging presentations with minimum effort, and you'll learn about some of the latest Edge customer implementations. So before we start, as always, a few items of housekeeping. As in all of our webinars, there'll be an opportunity for Q&A. So please submit your questions via the in-event meetings question panel. We'll also post links to the information referred to during the webinar in our chat panel, and we'll also post a link to our YouTube playlist where you can view all of our previously recorded Tech Tuesday webinars. So joining me today will be Kiana Pumper, Senior Sales Support Engineer with Sony's Professional Solutions of America. I'll turn it over to Kiana now and join you all back here later for Q&A.
Sweet. Hi, everyone. So excited to be here today. So today, just like John mentioned, we're going to be going over our Edge Analytics appliance, but really kind of starting at the very beginning of 2020 and giving you the full background of how this has helped me. Now, over the last 2 years, I've done many product presentations. And during the pandemic, I had this great idea that I'd get braces, thinking we're all going to be wearing face masks. I can stay inside. But little did I know that I'd be using this product more than I've ever been in my whole career, and I'd be on camera pretty much 24/7. Um, I've probably done about 500 plus of these presentations using our Edge Analytics appliance and an avid user. So not only do I practice what I preach, but I use it here all the time and I love sharing it with you. So over the past 2 years, I just want to share all that I have learned and really give you use cases and applications. So without further ado, I want to address my first problem here in the home office. So, how did I engage my customers when they were so used to me being there in person and showing them product directly? I think the biggest combat that I had was me being here at home by myself. What am I going to do to make my presentations more engaging? So first and foremost, I had to address camera operation. Again, I'm home alone. What do I do? So this is where PTZ auto tracking really came into play. So as you can see here in my home office, our PTZ auto tracking works really well with one person tracking. So essentially, anyone that steps into the field of view will automatically be tracked, and it does support a face mask. So with the face mask application, basically it tracks you about the room. We do have some limitations here. We expect a 17 feet minimum, 96 feet maximum. So really ideal for a classroom, my home office, anywhere where you need a camera operator and you might not have the bandwidth or the staff to support you. This is a perfect way to combat that. So I know this is a little geared towards more smaller spaces or a one-to-one space, and people ask me, well, that's kind of not fair, right? You're in your home office. How does this apply to me if I have a larger auditorium space? So we did upgrade this feature. We implemented focus area cropping. So with focus area cropping, now we have the ability to add basically a database of 100 people. So with 100 people, you can specify priorities. So here, this is where you actually map a person's face. On our PTZ auto tracking, it was basically grabbing size, shape, and color pattern recognition. This is where you completely set up a person. So you'll see here, our model Lucy is basically getting set up. once the person is set up one time, it saves in our database. So if they come back into the space, that's okay. It will already be set up based on that priority. So in spaces where it's multiple people and they cross your field of view, because it's already been trained to follow Lucy, then she will be the highest priority and it will continuously track her. If she leaves a field of view or someone with a higher priority comes into that space, they will basically switch over to that tracked person. So kind of a way to combat multiple people using that space. So the next one is something that is really cool. We have a close-up by gesture technology, and it's really geared towards a classroom or town hall environment where basically, again, no camera operator. So what we're doing here is if someone wants to ask a question, we could do a close-up of that person. And we do have two video feeds. And the way this works is that we're taking a 4K camera, and the 4K camera basically sees the full scope of the classroom or auditorium. And when someone physically stands up, the person will automatically get tracked and in a close-up cropped view. That's why we call it close-up by gesture. Currently, the only gesture we support is physically standing up, but the software is smart enough to recognize the person who stands up first. So you'll see that when one person stands up in a moment and then another person tries to interrupt, it will not switch until the person sits back down. So pretty neat functionality. Again, I would say if you are going to be in a town hall environment and someone wants to ask a question and you want a close-up shot, you have two views from one single camera with the help of our Edge Analytics appliance. All right. So moving on to handwriting extraction. This is also a really fun one if you are going to be using a whiteboard. Perfect for my home office when I'm training, but also perfect for classroom or even in conference room spaces where you are utilizing a whiteboard. Now people ask me like, why would I need this, right? I think the best use case scenario for this is for virtual presentations and also large rooms where you're still using a whiteboard, but the people in the back have not the same viewing experience for the people in front. So what you could do is basically bring monitors into that space and we can project that same image that you're seeing on the whiteboard to the back of the classroom. Or for virtual attendees like all of you, I'm free to use my whiteboard at any angle and you'll see it in real time, even if I cover the writing in with my body. And I'll show you what I mean right now. So you'll see in my home office, I basically analyze the board. I pick the 4 areas of detection, so basically the corners of my board. And once our Edge Analytics appliance analyzes it, it basically overlays it in front of you in real time. So I love to show all of the defects here. So you'll see that there's glare coming in from my window. Obviously, I'm not in a perfect environment. Again, I'm in my home office, but I think it really shows that even if you have the odds stacked up against you, maybe your camera is at an angle, our Edge Analytics appliance can combat those issues and still give you a great video feed on the far end. So I want to show you an application that is really applicable to larger spaces. So as you can see, my board's pretty small. It's only about 3 feet in width. So let's show you a real life example of someone that is using 3 to 4 boards in length. So we do have an application built into our appliance. So just like handwriting extraction, you can set up the mode. So in this mode is cropped mode, where we have 3 different whiteboards, and what we're doing is separating them up into 3 regions. So obviously we can show the full board, but for the far end it wouldn't be a great experience because now you're not looking at that standard 16:9 aspect ratio. So what we do is split the board in 3 different sections, and the AI technology is smart enough to know where the presenter is physically standing, so it will cue the software to switch over to the correct board that they're physically standing in. So pretty neat, and again, more functional and practical for a wider board. We also support horizontally 2 boards. Horizontally 3 boards, vertically 2 boards. So, all right. So I really want to talk about my favorite solution, which is our Chroma keyless CG overlay. This is currently what I'm using right now to give you this environment of basically a higher production level. It has really helped me engage my end users and my customers, resellers, distributors. They always are blown away with the fact that we're using this technology to present some type of solution to them. So you'll see here is my living room. And we propped up just a computer, a microphone, and a camera all on a tripod. Nothing special. So imagine you're going to present and you see this background, just a white background, just two people. Well, sure, you can get away with it, if it's standard video conferencing, but it's basically we're all in video conferencing overload. We really need to try to find new ways to make it a little bit more interesting. So what we did with the help of our Edge Analytics appliance is basically convert this boring space into this really cool, neat technology. So that white wall turned into this virtual environment where we have this upgraded wood table, not my fold out white table. And now you don't see a white wall, you see a studio space. And the cool thing about this is how many of you struggle when you're using any video conferencing platform? You're going to share a video. When you share a video, you're going to experience delay, slower frame rates. And as you can see with the help of our Edge Analytics appliance, the perk here is that you can have video within video and still maintain that resolution and that frame rate. So I think it's pretty neat, and it's an awesome way to address that issue when you do want to share video content. So we'll switch over to with the help of AI, you can make an attractive, hassle-free presentation environment. And like I said, the possibilities are endless. I've done this 500 times. So you'll see in this little snippet a couple of different applications. Again, it's basically the only thing that's going to stop you is your imagination. So you can bring in props, you can change your background, you can insert video, and just elevate those presentations, and people will appreciate the thought that you put in to elevating that. And on top of that, if you're thinking about a classroom or education environment, what do you do to attract students to your campus? How do you make it innovative? If all of us are working remotely, how do you separate yourself from the rest? And I think that with the help of AI technology, you really elevate those hybrid spaces. So without further ado, I know you heard a lot of use cases of what I've done in my office, what I've done with my customers or end users, but I want to give you a real application. So we do have the University of Central Missouri. They implemented this. We just released a case study on this. So if you are interested in learning more about how they implemented it in more detail, we will post the case study in the chat. But basically what they did is they implemented 30 Edge Analytics appliances with a sRG X120 camera in their classroom spaces, and they're using it for multifunction. So they are using handwriting extraction and PTZ auto tracking. Those are the two only software licenses that we can use simultaneously, or you can switch back and forth. So if you know your space is not going to be using that whiteboard at that moment, you can always switch over to PTZ auto tracking. So really neat applications here. And that's not the only one. There's plenty of users using this. If you are a user or if you're thinking about implementing this, I would love to have a conversation with you and help you, gauge what software licenses would be applicable to your spaces, or what cameras I could recommend for that square footage area. So love to chat, or even if you are already a Edge Analytics user and you want to be part of our case studies, feel free to reach out. We love to hear your stories. So without further ado, I'm going to switch over to Q&A. And while we do Q&A, I thought it would be a perfect moment to show PTZ auto tracking live. So I'll go ahead and switch over to that, and back to you, John, for Q&A.
Hey, thanks, Kiana. We do have a couple of questions in the chat. The first one here is from Christopher, and he asks, can you go full screen from the wall picture in picture on the video?
I think I know what he might be referring to, because when I was standing with Chroma keyless, I was just doing one little area. And yes, you can do full screen of your presentation view. That is no problem. But what happens is that when you do full screen, if you're going to be in it, your body might cover it. So that's the only reason I decided to go into the picture in picture view. but you're definitely able to drag and drop and customize anything that you see on our Edge Analytics. And if you saw when it switched over to the Chroma keyless portion, like you saw pictures of like a highway and like a forest with snow, that's going to be like full screen mode.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Um, we have a question from Marianne, and she asks about limitations on the size of the whiteboard.
Okay, so that's a really good question. So we actually don't have a size limitation for a whiteboard. What we recommend is anything that your camera can see within its viewing angle is what we support. With our crop view, like I said, we support 4 boards in length and 2 boards in height. That's what we'll use for our crop view mode or variable mode. But regardless, anything that fits in your field of view with your camera, we can support. And just to highlight that as well, we could use a whiteboard or a blackboard. Both are supported within our software.
And kind of a follow up question from Jerry asking about distance limitations or requirements for auto tracking.
Okay, so with auto tracking, couple of limitations here. We do have a specified list of cameras that we support for auto tracking. On all of our other software licenses, you can use any camera with HDMI into our Edge Analytics appliance. The PTZ auto tracking portion is the only use case where you have to use a model within our lineup. So, with that being said, our limitation for distance is 17 feet minimum and 96 feet maximum. But if we're being completely honest and transparent, here in my home office, I am around 8 feet away from the camera and it does work. But I would say for the best field of view and cropping, because we support upper body and full body, I definitely recommend staying within those scopes to ensure that it works at the best range possible.
Perfect. Thank you. There is a question here from Travis, and Travis asks about controlling or slowing down the speed of the auto track feature.
Okay, so as of right now, the way the auto track feature works is that it's just a standard mode, and the reasoning behind this is that we want to make sure that we are only using this hands free. And what I mean by that is when a presenter comes into the space, they just want it to work. So this is the standard field of view and speed. So you either decide if it's upper body or full body, and then the speed of tracking is completely like based on an algorithm. So this is kind of what you'll get. And it'll always try to keep you at center.
Thanks, Kiana. We have another question from Lisa. She's asking, are there, can you run all the software licenses at once?
Okay, that's a really good question. So, all the software licenses do different things, and I really am hesitant to confuse people when I introduce all 5 of them. So, I just want to be clear that basically, all the software is run individually, and you only pick a package that works for you. So, say for example, you only want PTZ auto tracking, that's great because we have this amazing promotion that with the purchase of every Edge Analytics appliance, PTZ auto tracking is included, and you don't have to upgrade to use any of the other software licenses if you don't need it in that space. But the beauty of it is that you do get a 60-day free trial of any of our softwares built into our Edge Analytics appliance. So, if you ever want to add on, you definitely can. But every software licenses runs one at a time. With the exception of PTZ auto tracking and handwriting extraction. Those can run simultaneously, but you still need 2 separate cameras, one facing the presenter view where it's going to be tracked and another camera facing the whiteboard. And then you'll also have 2 feeds coming out of your Edge Analytics appliance, so one feed for tracking and one feed for handwriting extraction. So those are the only 2 exceptions to the rule. Everything else you can stop one service and start another. Just like here in my home office, I have all five software licenses accessible to me. But anytime I switch, I basically stop one function and then start the other. The beauty of this as well is that we do support control systems. So we do have a technical document with CGI commands that allows you to basically automate this process. So a lot of our users that are using this, especially like the University of Central Missouri, will have a control system with a button that will allow you to switch between different software licenses to again make it really easy for the end user. I think at the end of the day, the full concept here is we want to make it as easy and not intimidating for the user actually presenting with this application. So if you think about an instructor coming into the room, PTZ auto tracking will already be running. They don't have to think about it. Same with handwriting extraction. If you're in a classroom and you come in and you start writing on the whiteboard, it's already running for you. So it's basically such a simple process for anyone to use. They will never have to configure or access the control side.
Great. There's another question here from Andy, asking another question about software licenses, asking,
Sure.
are these annual subscriptions?
No, they are not. That's one of the benefits to this. So basically, think of software as you're purchasing a software and it's yours forever, including any firmware updates. So, giving you an example with our handwriting extraction, when we first launched our product, we just had one full view, and now we introduced crop view and variable mode to address larger size boards. That was introduced with a firmware upgrade, and that was completely free as long as you already purchased your handwriting extraction software that was included with your firmware upgrade. So keep that in mind, and it's just a one-time fee.
Fantastic. Great. And just checking for any last minute questions. I don't see any. So, with
Okay.
that, I guess we'll go and we'll wrap up. Want to thank everyone as always for your time. I know your time is valuable, and we really appreciate you spending some time with Sony every 2 weeks. And just want to mention our next upcoming session will be one of our RV on AV sessions, where our vice president of Sony's B2B group, Rich Ventura, will get together with a panel. And that panel topic on the 13th of September will be virtual production. The future is now. So please mark your calendar. You won't want to miss that one. And again, I wish everyone a safe and profitable day, and especially wish everyone a happy and relaxing Labor Day holiday. So take care, and we'll see you soon.